Have you ever allowed your fantasy to mislead you? Many people had too. Sissy loved love movies. Through his friends and parents' Android phone and their small television, he had seen so many love movies. Korea, India, Hollywood, Nollywood, anywhere she can see love movies. Count her in. She even dreamed of the actors whenever she lie down to sleep. Sissy parents are poor farmers and lived in the rural area in Nigeria. Sissy, a young, attractive woman of 19, already done with high school, had very little knowledge about life. She thinks everything is white and black, as seen in movies she loved to see. She met John on New Year's Eve, as it was the tradition of the villagers who had gone to the city to search for greener pasture to always visit during festive period. John was one of those who returned from the city. If a girl finishes her secondary education, she was expected to further or get married. Sissy parents, already incapable of affording her university education, have already started receiving marriage requests from the villagers who cannot take their eyes off Sissy. Some even promised to help her further if she accepts their proposal. Sissy, being a lover of movies and wanted a fun-filled and dramatic life, rejected all their advances while waiting for her Prince Charming. When she met John, it was love at first sight. John, not only is he handsome, he was also a lover boy. He knows how to bath a woman with love words, admiration and attention. This was all Sissy dreamt of. She was not materialistic, and therefore was satisfied with little gift John gave her. All she needed was love. John, on the other hand, could not believe that there are extremely attractive ladies who are still hardworking and do not care about how rich or poor he is. Sissy was a dream come true for him, so he showered him with love and affection. Sissy's parents trusted her so much that they did not notice change in her behavior. Sissy could not bear the thought not to see John every day, so she lied to her parents and found a way to visit John daily. John spent days more that he should have because of Sissy. 2 weeks later, Sissy realized changes in her, met John and told him. He was so happy, calmed Sissy down, informed his parents. He took his parents to Sissy's house, brought drinks as tradition demands and asked for her hand in marriage. He was given marriage bride price list. When Sissy's parents realized that she was pregnant, in order to hide the shame it will bring to them, they allowed Sissy to follow John to the city. John also promised to pay her bride price in 2 months' time. Sissy was so happy, she packed her bags, bid her friends farewell and even promised to send Ashabi to them. Before she traveled, her parents gave her some money. Sissy was so happy when John came to carry her. She felt like jumping all over him. Her heartbeat increased. Is this love? She asked herself. They bid their parents farewell, and left for the city. This was the first time of Sissy leaving their village. She was young, beautiful, in love and energetic. She held on to John throughout their journey, not minding the eyes that were judging her. This is how it is supposed to be when you are in love, she thought to herself. When they got to the city, they boarded taxi. Sissy saw so many beautiful houses and waited patiently for John to show her her new home. As they entered further into the city, the environment changed. The houses were no longer beautiful, but looked like their houses in the village, only built together. That still did not bother her. She is with the love of her life. When they dropped from the taxi, she noticed that John was struggling to complete their taxi fare. She gave him some money from the money her parents gave her. John promised immediately to pay back. John still took her further inside small, unmotorable road. When John noticed that she was tired, he promised her that they are almost there. After 30 minutes of working, she saw houses built with woods. Not only are they old, but tattered. That was when John welcomed her home. Though she felt a little disappointed, but love matters more to her. John lived in one of the rooms in this shanty. She wondered how the things she brought will fit inside this one room for a lady who had her own room all her life. When they got inside, the room was hot. They owned the fan. First, she needed to eat. She already had food her parents made for her. All she needed was to make it hot. John took her to the kitchen. When they got there was an already prepared rice and stew. She was surprised and thought maybe John was very thoughtful and asked him friend to prepare meal for them. John was very uncomfortable while she ate the meal. He claimed filled. When she was eating, she heard a lady's voice, who opened the door as if it was hers. The lady was shocked to see her. She introduced herself as NSEM. She looked old, bleached and overdressed. Her makeup made Sissy nearly choke. She could not hold her laughter. She reminded her of ladies she saw in some movies, who put on things that make them look ridiculous to impress a man. He held John as if he was his, and asked John why he came back with his baby sister, which got Sissy angry and jealous. John looked at Sissy pitifully and affectionately. He told Baby that Sissy is his wife. Baby is a woman of 40, desperately in need of a husband, and fell in love with a boy, and was willing to give everything and give more to make sure the relationship works. Baby got mad. She removed her hands from John's body.
So, let me get this straight. I gave you money to visit your parents and tell them about me as you promised. Bought clothes and shoes for you. Bought bag and shoe for your mom that somehow ended up in this filthy thin body and gave you money, which you used to get yourself a wife and even to surprise you as I heard of your return from your friend. Cooked a sumptuous meal for you, which somehow have ended up in this glutton stomach. John, you must be joking.
Baby, I am sorry. I never planned to deceive you. I sincerely wanted to marry you. But when I got to the village, I met her. I couldn't think straight anymore. It was love at first sight. She is already with my child. I am so sorry, baby.
Before I count to 3, in fact, where is that idiot that needed education but chose to sleep around? Hand me my watch, bag, sandal, fast. John, the first unpacking my clothes and kitchen utensils I bought for you. In fact, you are owing me. I need all the money I have spent of you. If you end this your full need piece, better pay up. You do not even have stove. I wonder how this fool will cope. Enjoy your marriage life. But John, how did you manage to pay her bride price? Anyway, it's not my business. Pay me my money, for peace to reign.
Sissy could not believe her ears. She felt dizzy. She needed fresh air. She left the room for John and baby. She was speechless. It was as if the whole world was trying to fall on her shoulder. She unconsciously blocked her ears from their conversation. When the bag she put her money inside was taken from her and emptied, she was unaware. When baby left with so many things, she was there but was also not there. It was John's pushing and repeated name calling that brought her back to reality. He cried while pleading for forgiveness. Sissy ignored him and noticed how their neighbor's eyes were on the both of them. She entered inside and slept off. That was the second night Sissy had horror dream. The first was when her grandma died, and this was the second. She woke up screaming at midnight. John held her affectionately, while she cried her heart out. She loved John so much that she was ready to live with him in this poverty and embarrassment. They hugged and made up. The next day, she lied to her parents that her phone was down and that they arrived safely. She told them how big the city was and how crowded it was. They reminded her to make sure John come to pay her bride price next month, as promised, which she accepted to do. John came in with a dirty-looking, leaking stove. She washed it and warmed the food she brought from home. They tidied their house, scattered by baby. John could only eat very little. Unknowing to Sissy, he is so broke. He wanted the food to last Sissy till the next day, that he will resume work. John was a poor salary earner. All this while, he was fed by baby. Sissy never knew what she got herself into. The next day, John went to work, took loan from his office, and got some food for Sissy to cook. He repeated this for a week before he ran out of money. They moved from 3 meals a day to 2 to 1, and finally eating to survive. Sissy bumps were getting bigger, and no money for getting clothes. She was trying to fit into her old clothes. One day she fainted in front of their house while John was away. Her neighbor, a young girl who hawked oranges, helped her and gave her food. She lended her 1,000 naira to join her business. Sissy was hardworking, so she accepted. John kicked against it, but Sissy was determined not to faint again. Sissy joined her neighbor, and, after some time, was able to afford cheap, overused maternity gowns. One day, while hawking, she saw baby. Baby poured water on her, took her phone, and asked her to tell the husband to come with her money to exchange it with the phone. Sissy was down. She got home and cried so much. Is love worth it? She asked herself. When the husband got back, he consoled her and promised to get the phone, which Sissy did not accept because he gave her so many promises that are unfulfilled. Sissy suggested that he leave his low-paying work, rent wheelbarrow and carry goods for people. She told him of how lucrative it was and pay much better than his work. John felt insulted and refused. Sissy ignored him for days, but they later reconciled. She brought so many ideas for John, but he refused to do any work that will make him look dirty. When Sissy was due, she gave birth in the local midwife house because they could not afford to pay hospital rent. John was so happy to see his son, but Sissy was bothered. If she leave her business for 1 month, how will she feed his son as well as clothe him? All baby's items they got from charity. Sissy's people were worried. Since Sissy's phone was snatched from her by baby, John have put in no effort whatsoever to retrieve it. Sissy was focused on saving up for her baby's arrival, and since the phone was taken, her parents have no access to disturb her about bride price, so she could stop lying and covering up for John, who could not even repair his bad phone. After so much disturbance from Sissy's parents to John's, they were able to get John's address. The mother decided to pay them a visit to make sure her daughter is still alive. Sissy, already 3 weeks and strong, have no choice but to go back to business. She have decided not to hug, but sit at a position and cover her baby with an umbrella. Her love for John had made her forgiving and accepting. John tried his best, but have refused to do the needful. That day, she dressed her baby, covered her with blankets, and carried him to the position near their closest bus stop, where her friend secured for her, unknown to her, her mother was visiting that very day. As she was selling and breastfeeding her baby, she heard a familiar voice that stopped to buy fruits. The person took pity on her and told her that she and her baby needed rest. She recognized the voice, but her mind believed it to be a coincidence. As she raised her head to take the woman's request, after the woman had waited patiently for her to be done with breastfeeding, behold, it was her mother. She stood up, covered in tears. At first, her mom never believed her eyes. She wondered how Sissy became this slim and smallish, with a very weak skin and cloth, like that of the poorest people in the village. She hugged her with a shattered heart. They both cried. She asked her why she did not come back if she finds herself in this condition. She replied that she did not want to bring shame to them. Her mother asked her to pack. She explained to her that the fruits are on credit, so she had to sell them off. Her mom heart broke more. She carried her son, gave her money to pay the loan, and Sissy, shameful, took her mother to their room. As if what she saw was not enough, the condition of their living broke her more. She wondered how her daughter had suffered this 1 year and have been pretending. She wondered if something happened to John. She went to the market she saw on her way to their house and bought food, clothes for she and her baby. It broke her heart that her daughter looked nothing like herself. She looked broken and tired. She bathed her grandson and fed them and was eagerly waiting for John to return. John returned, well-dressed and good-looking as always. Through her daughter's story, she realized that John, not only was he lazy, he was cunning as well. He deceived them and, out of shame, sent their daughter to lion's den. The next day, immediately John went to work. She packed very few of their belongings and dragged their daughter and son home. She reminded her that, as law demands, she is not yet married to him. While leaving, she thought leaving John would break her more. But when she got back to the village, after 2 weeks of having her privacy, seeing her son thriving without struggling, she thanked her God for sending her mom to her rescue. She got a type of peace that left her. Immediately, she got to John's house. After 3 weeks of no communication with John, he came to the village. It took pleading from him and his parents before they were allowed to see Sissy and his son. His family helped and gathered bride price, but Sissy refused to go back or marry him, only if he will relocate to the village, which John refused to do. After 2 years of no John in her life, she had gathered enough money and opened a provision shop in the village. She later accepted to marry a friend in the village. She got married to him, and her baby refused to live with her, as he had already grown strong ties with her grandparents. Sissy got a new life and a hardworking husband. One festive period, John returned with a car and his girlfriend baby. When John saw her, he could not hold his admiration for her. He shed drops of tears. Sissy, thou still feel something for him, had realized how much John used him. He told him that baby is meant for him. When you see movies, remember it is fiction, and no girl child should be sent away because of pregnancy. That tradition needed to be gotten rid of. Many children have died because of their mistake that the parents refused to accept.
Finally, encourage your girl child to understand herself first
Before marriage,